guys, I've got another Splarshy ranking. Today I'll be ranking all 13 episodes of the Gene Deitch era of Tom and Jerry from worst to best. Let's get started. Number 13, the worst of the bunch, is Tom the Trap because it acts as a bad gag reel with no substance. Despite the fact that Tom and Jerry are well drawn and the music is decent, this is a completely skippable cartoon and it's very poor. Okay, number 12. Number 12 is Dickie Moe. Despite the fact that Tom is well drawn, despite the fact there are a couple of good backgrounds, and despite the fact that the captain has a maniacal rant at the beginning of the episode, beside these points, the episode is very poor and not worth your time. It also acts on that bad gag reel method, which is very unappealing. Number 11. Number 11 is Landing Stripling. Despite the fact that Landing Stripling has some decent music at times, this episode is very poor. The sound effects are very atrocious, even though a couple of the backgrounds are good, it cannot salvage this cartoon, which is very poor story-wise. You don't understand characters' motivations, and several things about it just do not work. And so for those reasons, this gets the number 11 spot. Number 10, Carmen Get It. Carmen Get It is the musical episode of this incarnation, and it pales vastly in comparison to the Hanna-Barbera musical episodes because it does not have the budget to achieve that kind of style and syncing everything up. It just does not work. And so when it comes down to it, the episode has very little to redeem itself. I mean, the part's okay where Tom is conducting and everything, but when you see like the standard you have to live up to for these kind of musical episodes, there's no comparison in any way, and so it falls flat and is a waste of time. And that's why it gets the number 10 spot. Number 9, Switchin' Kitten. Switchin' Kitten is the pilot episode of this incarnation, and it tries to do a lot of things. It's very interesting because the episode has very good music. This episode has the music done by Victor Little, aka Václav Little, instead of the usual Stephen Konachek. And it really benefits, for this score sounds very Tom and Jerry. Unfortunately, there's a lot of problems. Tom and Jerry are sometimes very well drawn, but sometimes they look hideous, and the sound design does not work, and the episode is too long for what it is. But it does boast good backgrounds, and it does attempt to be Tom and Jerry, but unfortunately it can't live up to the full count. So that's why it gets the number 9 spot. Number 8, Sorry Safari. This episode follows the tried and true formula of down and outing and high stakes, but being that this is the third time that this story type is used, it is rather stale at this point. And to top it off, the characters are very poorly drawn for the most part in this episode, and the backgrounds are not very well drawn either. Now, there are a couple of good drawing shots, like the plane coming in and things like that, but and the music does have its own unique flavor, but still, most of the gags do not land. A couple do, and the story can't live up to the full count because it's supposed to be Tom and Jerry when it doesn't really come anywhere close. And so, that is why it gets the number 8 spot. Number 7, Buddy's Thicker Than Water. This is where we come to a turning point in these episodes on my list, because Buddy's Thicker Than Water, it tries to evoke the feeling of the original Hanna-Barbera originals, but it's trying too hard, in my opinion, because it does not succeed. It has too many things stacked against it. It's better when Gene Deitch tries to work within his own wheelhouse, but here everything comes off as very forced. And so it seems like it's something that, they tried very hard to make work and make it fit in with the originals, but there's no way for them to really achieve it. What with the cheap animation, the drawings that don't stay on model, and things like that. And not to mention the fact that the sound effect design here is poor also. But now some positives of this are that the episode does have some very good music, and the drunken laughs of Tom and Jerry done by Gene Deitch are very entertaining, and the fact that the woman in this episode looks like a woman that could be in a traditional Tom and Jerry episode is very nice. For once, it's not just some person that looks nothing like a person whatsoever, but this this woman actually looks like a character that could be on Tom and Jerry, which is very good. But it can't live up to the full count, for it's trying too hard, and despite its good intentions, cannot live up to the Tom and Jerry's of the past. And so it gets the number 7 spot. Number 6, It's Greek to Meow. It's Greek to Meow is an interesting episode, for the first third of the episode is not very good, but the middle is pretty good. And the last third's not that good either, but the third and the middle, basically Tom breaks into the Greek building, and he's after Jerry, and Tom does stuff like he uses the head bust of like a Greek figure as his head, and it comes off, and then he hides from the guards. He breaks off the arms of the statue, and he pretends to be its arms, and he captures Jerry in a vase and stuff, and then he's surprised when he can't find him in there. All this great stuff, which was very well drawn and animated at that point. In the beginning and ending, the animation's not very good, and the drawings aren't very good, but in the middle it really thrives, and that's why it gets the number 5 spot. The sound effects aren't as bad as usual, and the pacing is fairly fast, which makes this stand out, and gets the number 6 spot. Number 5, Calypso Cat. Calypso Cat takes the storyline used in a lot of the Hanna-Barbera originals, of where Jerry is jealous of Tom being in love with a girl cat, and he breaks up the relationship. And in this episode, Jerry's motivations aren't very clear as to why he's trying to break it up at this particular time. And despite the fact that Tom and Jerry aren't very well drawn, the other two the other two cat characters are, and it's very interesting. It has nice music and has some good gags, and for those reasons, I give it the number 5 spot. Now, on to number 4. Number 4 is Mouse into Space. Mouse into Space is an interesting episode in this incarnation, and it's very good because it shows that Tom cares about Jerry. They try to evoke emotion in this particular short, which is absent from most of the other shorts of this incarnation, because basically Jerry gets tired of Tom trying to kill him, so he joins the Space Force, and then Tom is grieving because Jerry's gone, and he becomes a drunk, and he wanders about, and it's just a great episode. And Tom and Jerry eventually meet up, and they reunite and have their little duel of sorts, and it's very well done. The music's very nice. The sound effects fit because it's a space episode, and it's just overall a very enjoyable watch. So that's why I guess the number 4 spot. Number 3, High Stakes. This takes the tried and true formula of Down and Outing and Sorry Safari, and is the second best of the bunch. This episode benefits from having more of music syncing to the movement and action, and it also benefits from the fact that it makes Tom and Jerry more clear of adversaries as to what Jerry wants and why Tom is stopping him, and it also has plenty of good gags, and lots of stuff about it is very entertaining. So you take that into consideration, and that's why I give it the number 3 spot on my list. Number 2, Down and Outing. Down and Outing is the first of those 3 shorts to use the tried and true formula of High Stakes and Sorry Safari, and is the best of the bunch. For in this short, Tom reacts to all the pain that happens to him. You know, he reacts with screams or grunts or groans or whatever to everything. Usually in a Deitch era short, Tom will get hit by something and he won't make a sound. Here, Tom often makes a noise, and it really ups the ante and gives you an added layer of realism to the cartoon that otherwise wouldn't be there. Not to mention, you got some very good backgrounds, like in the house, there's the wall, and it has a bunch of rectangles on it in the line down the wall. Very nice pattern. And not to mention, there's some other good backgrounds. There's some good gags. Tom is pretty well drawn in this episode, and so on and so forth. And so it gets the number 2 spot because it's a very good cartoon. Number 1, the Tom and Jerry Cartoon Kit. No other Deitch episode comes even close to touching the greatness of the Tom and Jerry Cartoon Kit. First of all, this cartoon is postmodernist, It uses meta humor, fourth wall breaking, all in one. You can take it as a simple cartoon, just like enjoy the simplisticness of watermelon gags and judo class, or you can look at the deeper meaning behind it and what the story conveys to you about this kit, which you can make your own Tom and Jerry cartoon. And so there's all these levels you can look at it at. Tom and Jerry are well drawn and animated in this episode, the best that they've looked in this entire incarnation. My suspicion is it has to do with the fact that they didn't have to really draw backgrounds for this episode. They just have basic collars. But hey, if it leads to a quality Tom and Jerry episode like this, I'm perfectly fine with it. Tom and Jerry act like the Tom and Jerry we know and love. It has a very nice, fast pace, and it's just very entertaining. And interestingly enough, in an article Gene Deitch wrote for Cartoon Research, he said that the episodes were released in theaters out of order, and this was actually the last one that him and his team made, which is fascinating to me. What else would we have gotten if he continued on this path? Because he had finally figured out what Tom and Jerry was all about. And so I just love this short. I think it's just brimming with energy, and it can be basic like an old Tom and Jerry short where they just do a basic thing to get a basic laugh, and it's just all the better off for it. And so that is my ranking of the 13 episodes of the Gene Deitch era of Tom and Jerry. What do you think? Leave comments below and tell me how you feel about this. And until next time, come back for another Splarshy ranking.